So you're installing garage doors in industrial facilities or warehouses across the country. You're doing that with that back office that you mentioned, and then 3 or 4 crews. Those 3 or 4 crews, are they all full-time employees of the company, or are they contractors at sometimes? And then also, how are you handling the logistics? Because that's the piece that I just can't wrap my head around. It seems so complicated.
The crews are full-time. There's some that, are part-time.
Sure.
We give them as many hours as we can. We have to keep them busy, otherwise they're going to find something else. And that's the challenge, is you've got to fill the gaps, because you've got, we'll do a $2 million job that takes, months, but if another trade hasn't finished what they've done, it pushes that job back. So we're constantly moving people around. Like if we've got time, we're like, all right, we need to wait a week. We need to figure out what to do with these guys. We'll move them over to another job. So the travel costs are hefty. It is a challenge. So I think what I mentioned before was the way that our operations work is we get the job, get the start date, we order the material drops, usually a week or two before. We mobilize the team, and then the back end office is helping get those guys organized, whereas our operator was having to do that before. So they book the Airbnb and get the guys out there, drop ship the material, and they get to work and just move on to the next job. So it's great for us because we don't carry any inventory, so overhead is minimal. Challenge with all that is that when the material drops, the clock starts ticking. So we're on a net 30 with some vendors, and then we're on a net 60 with others. But the problem is, if it drops on the 1st and we can't build to the 25th, the GC typically takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days to pay us. So we have to carry that. And if you've got a $2 million job and probably 80% of that is material, that's a lot of money. So that's where we ran into issues in the beginning, because the previous owner told us, hey, you need 30 grand to run this company. Well, we didn't think about the material that needed to be paid for. So I remember sitting in New York with my wife. We got away for a couple of days to go see her brother, and get a phone call from the previous owner, because he's still working with us. And he said, these vendors are calling and yelling at me saying that you owe $500,000 next week or they're going to cut you off. I said, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, the material needs to be paid for. I said, well, we just can't pay whenever we get paid from the GC. He's like, yeah, you can, but you're on a net 30 or a net 60, and you're at 70 days. So we ended up having to chip in. We had to borrow money, and then eventually get a line, because a line of credit with the bank, they gave us 50 grand in the beginning, and we needed like $1 million. So I ended up getting that set up. I mean, again, a lot of stupid mistakes, things that could have been prevented if we actually knew what we were doing, but figured it out along the way. A lot of sleepless nights, and but again, I mean, we figured it out, and we just got through it. There was a lot of challenges with that company.
Sometimes learning the hard way is the best way, because you learn lessons that you will never forget, and you'll never repeat those same mistakes.